to the ropes and off. A flying tackle by and a drop kick.
10 pounds of pure gold.
Got to hold this just a minute. You want a little bit more?
I'm the world heavyweight champion.
Gotta be the best of me. It's more to me than anything I've ever done in wrestling.
Nick Aldis, the 10 pounds of gold. The championship has existed in its current proper form since 19.
That was pretty hard, and look at Buddy going to work now. Oh!
Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of Billy Corgans NWA here on TEW 2020. Some really bad news, obviously, in the NWA scene that affected us. The wrestler known as Josephus, who has always been what I considered one of the pillars of the NWA, both in our save and in the real world, unfortunately passed last week, and it's another unfortunate loss for the wrestling community, and obviously it's very upsetting. Always loved his work. One of the reasons why we made him such a prominent figure in our save, even though arguably we did something very different from him, is I loved his sort of demeanor and presence, and I wanted to showcase it in a way that I thought would be fun. I was thinking about it, and I think we're going to allow him to no longer be here with us. I don't think it's appropriate to book in a modern save a wrestler who has passed, so we've removed him from our roster. I am going to update at the end of this game. We have to wait until the first week of January in order to make a database. So if you guys are wondering where that is, we're going to have to go through this episode first to do it. But I'm going to give you guys the database that we are playing as in 2021. So if you wanted to play along, if you've ever been interested in booking better than me, which should not be hard, you can go ahead and play through the save. And we'll have that in the description. One of the things I will be doing when I go in there is I will probably be editing the wrestlers who have passed and removing them from the database. Right now, well, not removing them, but setting them as deceased. Right now, they're kind of in like a weird limbo where I turn them off. So know that I'll have that set up for you, but if you want to go in and set them up, you can bring them back if you wanted to. We might even switch over to that save as well. I don't know how that will work for us, but for now I just have them kind of set in a weird limbo state that removed them. Now, some behind the scenes stuff, some things that we were doing that I think we should probably highlight. First of all, we added some people to our Hall of Fame, which doesn't really do much, but obviously we added Josephus in there. Jeff Jarrett, Dusty Rhodes, and AJ Styles, a whole bunch of people were already in there. Brody also in there, and then Rock and Roll Express we're adding to it as well. So keeping that memory and lineage for everybody in there is important, and that's what we did. The other thing we did, some of this will be story related, so be aware of that, but we added some new images for some of our tournaments, because I was upset that they didn't have them. It's something that I wanted to do for you guys as you get the database, so you have a little bit of that. I also updated some of the images, so I couldn't find a good picture of the current World Tag Team Champions title. It's not too dissimilar. I think it's actually a slightly different style, but I couldn't find a good one. The World Women's title was way off, though. It was like an old 1990s one. So I modified, removed the picture of, and made it like a gemstone, so it's a little more generic, and gave you the new one, which I think is honestly one of the better looking belts in wrestling right now. Like it's real sharp. I think it's like low key a really great belt that not a lot of people are talking about. I love that when a person is the champion, they show up in this sort of center gemstone. They have like a little face in there. I think that's kind of classy. I think it's just a nice looking belt. I think the 10 pounds of gold is still the best looking belt in wrestling, and then probably followed by the IWGP and then probably the AEW belt. But this one might have a run for maybe third place and might actually surpass the AEW belt. I think it just looks real sharp. The world's heavyweight hasn't changed, though I think this is actually the wrong image, but it's fine. So we kind of did that and modified some of that. The other thing we did is we added some alliance belts. I don't know when this will come into play in the save, but know that we are expanding the alliance titles a little bit. It's there to kind of give some people some more things to do. So if we look here, we added we're calling them all, except for the national heavyweight, we're going to call them the heritage titles. So the heritage women's, heritage tag, and obviously we have the national heavyweight, who's still AR Fox. So I figured adding those 3 divisions, we'll probably treat them almost like a floating mid-card title. Something to achieve for the people in the women's division or the tag division that they just don't have the opportunity to really, like, they're not at the level where they're going to be competing for the women's championship, but maybe they can compete for the alliance title instead. So we're going to use that sort of as a subdivision to give our people a little bit more to do, especially our tags, because it feels like very often we can only really realistically book one tag team versus another at a time. We added a few more tag teams during our live stream, not a lot, just a few. And so I wanted to give people a little bit more to do. And that was a nice way to do it. If you're a member of the Discord, you've heard my rants about this, but I'm not a huge fan of a lot of belts. I understand why they're there, and I agree it makes things easier. But I just don't enjoy the concept, because to me, they should represent the top of a division, and random mid-card ones don't really make sense to me, because what do they represent? If there's a specific sort of category or like idea behind them that's justified, I can get it. So like when the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it exists, and there's a justification, the idea that it's about, who's the better pure wrestling fighter, or the Ring of Honor pure champion, or the Impact's X division. Like, I kind of get those because they're about something a little bit different. They're not just another belt that's around that is just a way to give somebody something to make them seem more important than they really are. Now, granted, it's wrestling. That is what belts are, is just a way to signify to the story and to the people watching that they are somehow more important, and there's something, there's stakes. So I get that. And ideally, in all of history, there's just been tons of belts. Sometimes there's been matches where people literally, they made a belt for that match that never existed before. And so that stuff happens, but I'm not a huge fan. I think you have to have a purpose for it, and there has to be a good reason for it, and it has to represent a division or a group of people, I think, in order to make sense. So I'm not a big fan of how WWE has the US Championship, 2 world championships that represent the same thing, but they're really brand championships, but then no one's on top. And then what does the US Championship and the Intercontinental Championship represent? It's muddy, it's confusing. I'm not a huge fan. That said, we are going to introduce a mid-card championship. I think we do need it. I think it hurts our booking not to have it. It's going to be about, I think it's going to be similar to the pure championship. It's going to be about it's going to be closer to like a X division. I don't know what the specific rules are going to be, but it's going to have to be somebody that's maybe younger, or it might be something that's it's their first year in the company or something like that, or just I don't know. We'll make up the rules. Tell me what you guys think the rules should be for it. Of what does it should be, probably like up and comer. I mean, it could be arbitrary. It could just be people that to qualify, you've never you've never won the world championship or something like that. Like, it's like, it would be your first belt or something. Now, a little spoiler, because I'm going to set it up here, because Jeff Jarrett's in charge, we know exactly what belt it's going to be. So we had to purchase it. And we now have the NWA Global Force Next Generation Championship. Was originally an Impact-owned title back when Jeff Jarrett carted his way into convincing the Impact TNA people to rebrand as Global Force, his own company. And it was kind of a replacement for the X Division. So it's going to be a secondary championship. We bought it. We changed the name. So it has the very limited lineage of it, of PJ Black, Sunjay Dutt, and Cody in it before being retired. And that's going to be our mid-card championship. So I think it's probably going to be, like maybe youngsters. I don't think, like, we could do, we'll say youngsters, I think, is probably the most likely function of it. So that's going to be our mid-card championship, and we'll introduce that. I don't know if it's going to be introduced tonight. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but I think it's going to be fun. And let me know in the comments, like, what should the requirements be to be a next-gen championship, to be able to qualify to compete for it. I kind of like the idea of it's just anybody that has never held a world championship, they qualify. It's like a stepping stone. And I think that provides enough, like, control over it that it makes sense, and then it's it becomes its almost own little division. Like, because a part of me is like, well, it could be youngsters, but how do you define that? Is a 30-year-old a youngster, or is a 21-year-old a youngster? It could be, there was discussions about like a junior heavyweight division. Like, I like that, but we don't really have that many people for that, right? And then you have to hire wrestlers just specifically to fill the niche of a junior heavyweight, and that doesn't really work for us, unless you're looking at it as actual weight class. But then, are you looking at the national heavyweight as an actual weight class? And then you have to actually follow whether someone's fitting that weight or not. It's messy. So I kind of like the idea of its only requirement is that it's a proving ground for newer, younger wrestlers, and that's an arbitrary number. And the only requirement is that you could not have held the NWA World's Heavyweight before. This is something that's like, it only qualifies for the younger competitors, or people that have not already proven that they're a World Heavyweight, and it's like a stepping stone. Let me know what you think. Let me know about your alternatives. I'll be interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Now, we got a show to do. 2 more days till Power. We might have some decisions in terms of negotiations, because we have a bunch of wrestlers coming in from that last live stream that we saw. So hopefully they'll be coming in pretty soon, and we'll be able to get them into the game. I don't know if they're going to show up for the next Power, which is now only 1 hour, but we'll see. All right, let us move on to the show. All right, we got some, looks like, decisions to make. We also got some horrible news. Billy Ray and Velvet Sky broke up. And Ronda Rousey's now in AEW. God damn it. They're just signing everybody over there. Just really going crazy. Yeah, man, they're going nuts over there. Now, we have a bunch of signings that we're waiting for. Some new members of our women's division, some new members of just the roster in general. We also fired a lot of people. Well, not a lot, but actually we probably hired more people than we fired. But we got rid of some talent. We have some people that are probably going to go. Like War Machine's probably going to go. But we're waiting to bring in some. I kind of wanted to focus on bringing in tag teams a little bit, which is kind of funny that I want to get rid of War Machine. But I think eventually we're just gonna let them go. It's sunset them at some point. The Ascension, aren't far behind, but I think we have some time to do things with them and change them around and make them a little more interesting. Devon Erics are obviously a staple of us. Warhausen is a temporary group, but we also made the Sleaze and Breeze, which is a tag team for our Smokin' Aces, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. FTR being our champions are going to be here forever, and we also have an incoming tag team for our Kingdom, Eddie Kingston's Kingdom. So we'll have each stable will have its own tag team, which will be nice and makes a lot of sense. And we also have, I think, 2 other tag teams coming in. So it's going to be a lot of people for the tags around, which will be nice. But also we have that buffer with the alliance now. Now that we have the alliance titles in our alliance area, I think that's going to be nice because then now they have something else to fight for, right? And it's also going to be cool because though they haven't done it much, as I say that, it looks like the National Alliance went vacant today. I guess AR Fox is no longer the champion. So I was going to say one of the cool things is that it can kind of turn into, these people can be from other companies, right? Anybody in the Alliance can take these. It must have got vacated because they left our company. I don't know. That's kind of unfortunate, but that's fine. We'll give it to somebody else, or we can always borrow somebody. We do have loans that we can do, where we could just straight up ask for, somebody from Impact or something like that, or somebody from, hold on a second. What's happened here with our alliance? Oh, hold on. We gotta look at this. I don't remember seeing that in our news. That should have showed up in our news pool, shouldn't it? I think AEW just left the alliance. Let's take a look at the news here. These are workers. We just want... Yup. AEW has left the National Wrestling Alliance. They big leagued us, guys. They have decided that they are no longer part of the National Wrestling Alliance. I mean, meh. Whatever. I kind of had some cheap plans to bring some people in from them, but that's fine. I think we're good with who we have. In fact, we could always, invite new members if we wanted to. Maybe some old school members of the NWA. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. We could bring Ring of Honor in. I don't know. Actually, they probably can't because they're in a they're already in an alliance, so that wouldn't work. Where's Smoky Mountain? Where's our other former NWA companies? We could always bring those in. Those little scumbags, AEW, are really being a thorn in our side to try to steal our people. Now they remove themselves so we can't use them. Wow. Well, I see how it is. All right. Well, whatever. We'll build our own alliance with blackjacks and hookers. It's fine. No backstage incidents, which is nice. And we just need to go ahead and put ourselves in the soundstage here. The quote-unquote arena. 502 fans expected. We're slowly just kind of growing up and up and up for us. Though we have that capacity for a while, so that is good. We got a show to book. We're going to have to remember how to book a 1 hour show. So I think we might see some pre-shows and post-shows in here. If financials work, we may also do a B show, some kind of like almost like a dark, where we're just kind of giving people some opportunity to wrestle. I don't know if the financials allow us for that, but we will see. And that definitely would be an option to kind of get more people on TV. But right now, we're just going to have to play it smart and see if we can book ourselves a very lean show and still hit our marks. So let's go ahead and get that done. And I'll catch you guys on the flip for a 1 hour power. All right, guys, we are ready. I forgot how hard it is to get anything done in 1 hour. I almost want to maybe move us up to an hour and a half. It would be kind of weird, but it'd be a weird time frame. But it's difficult to get anything done within 1 hour. So let me know what you guys think about that. I got stuff done, but not nearly as much as I would like to. We have one dark main event, as I'm just testing out to see if there will be if that removes a penalty for not appearing on the show or not. We will see. And we have two pre-shows, which are the segments of the remaining of our tournament. So that will wrap up for the semifinals, I want to say, for our tournament. And then we get on to the show itself. Let's go ahead and let's take a look, see how it came out. So, in our pre-show number one for the tournament, we didn't have much heat, and it was decent wrestling. Effie actually defeats Tetsuya Endo in 8 minutes, the attribute that we had picked previously. Effie was like 3 points higher on the average, so he beats Endo out, moves on in the Squared Circle tournament. It's a 48, it's not bad. This is a weird one because they were tied exactly, so I just let it randomly pick. And unfortunately, it looks like King Mo won. I kind of wanted Jervis to the end, but that's how this goes. King Mo defeats Jervis Cottonbelly in 8 minutes with submission and moves on in the tournament. King Mo had a 45, Jervis had a 29. King Mo is a much better performer, obviously. Segment is a 38. And as a final segment for our pre-show, just to have it there, we didn't put it in the main show because we kind of got the segment rating that I expected. Corgan, Jarrett, and Pinky kind of come out of character just to give Josephus a 10-bell salute. Was a very important character for us and a very important wrestler for real NWA as well as us, and it felt right to at least acknowledge his passing in the universe in our save as well. So, Josephus, man, sorry. It's a real shame. Real bad for his family. But, that's life sometimes. And hopefully that's the last that 2021 has to give us, because last year was pretty rough on that too. And yeah, it's a bummer. Anyways. We'll start the show off for reals with Nick Aldis, as a good NWA show should. He's talking about the Cult after having beat Pentagon, the dark leader of the Cult of Josephus, into the fire. And what does that mean for the Cult? What does that mean for Nick Aldis? And he kind of postulates that as well. He says, for years, there's been this darkness surrounding the corners of the NWA. This cult, well, they found a new purpose a bit ago and began making targets of people. They said that I was weak, that I needed to be cleansed. Well, at Into the Fire, I went into the fire, and I proved to their own leader that there was no weakness in Nick Aldis. I may have been led astray in the past, but I've searched for myself in the last couple months, and I found a mentor who has given me that guidance and inner strength to succeed. But for the members of that cult, I just have to ask why. Why stay? Why follow the leadership of a monster who cares so little of you that they would jeopardize your lives and safety? Is there not maybe a better way? You live in fear of a false prophet. I know this. But if I need to prove it, if that's my mission, I will. So we start the fracturing storyline of the cult because Nick Aldis made a big crack. Josephus was the glue for this cult, and now that he's gone, and now that Nick Aldis has proven that he can best Pentagon, what does that really mean for the cult anymore? You know, they already lost a member through Flip, and obviously, unfortunately, lost a member through the passing of Josephus. So, if their leader is not capable of besting Nick Aldis, what does that really mean? And he kind of teases that a little bit. He kind of teases a little bit other thing, too, about a mentorship, like some kind of guidance that he got, that he found some extra strength. So it's kind of interesting. We really don't know what's going on with Nick Aldis at this point, but he seems like he wants to make it a mission to strip Pentagon of power. I think he's pissed off at him. Gets a show off to a strong start and gets the crowd hotter. He does a 53. It's fantastic. We start our matches with debuting Delilah Doom versus Willow Nightingale. It does not have much heat. It has pretty terrible wrestling. Delilah only has a 28. We're going to develop her. I think she will do very well once she gets her popularity up, because her stats are not bad, and she's a fun character. So we expected this to do pretty low, and that's fine. Delilah gets a fun babyface gimmick. It debuts very good. She's kind of comes out sort of like Bailey-ish. She's basically, if you don't know who she is, her gimmick is kind of like 80s aerobic instructor, like very like over the top. It's a lot of fun, and she definitely comes out to that vibe here and defeats Willow. Gives her a little bit of momentum. 33 is not bad, all things considered. After the fact, Thought Crimes comes out. Madison Eagles and Nicole Matthews coming out to harass the new girl. They ultimately end up attacking her on a 2-on-1, and our champion Kimberly comes out for the save. This segment does okay. It's a 36, not much to say about it. We restart the Thought Crime storyline now with Delilah involved, as they find a new target to harass. And it's going to be about a question of whether Delilah can stand on her own or whether she's going to need Kimberly on her back. After that, Jeff Jarrett comes out to the ring to a crowd of boos. Jeff Jarrett, obviously into the fire, came out as a ref after the other ref was bumped out and fast counted the match to allow Pillman to get the win, seemingly screwing over Eddie Kingston. Jarrett goes and responds to the boos. He's like, I know, I've read Twitter, I've heard what you've had to say, and this is how I want to respond. It's all a conspiracy. There was no screw job or fast count. A ref was down, and I took it upon myself as general manager to come out and make sure an important match wasn't ruined. If I was faster than normal, I'm sorry. I don't do this a lot. It's not Jeff Jarrett's fault, you see. Because ultimately, it's all about what's best for business, what's best for the NWA. You know, I've reviewed the past actions here over the week. I've looked through the papers, I've looked through the tapes, and I must say, this company was a mess. Lots of nepotism, a lot of money marking, and a lot of weird stuff with that Danhausen fella. Well, good old Double J is here to straighten up this company. And that's why today we're bringing it back to the basics. Back to the way my daddy ran NWA back when he was in charge. It's about what's best for wrestling, best for its fans, best for business. No more sponsored championship belts. Gone. No more nepotistic founders clauses. Gone. Just best wrestlers performing the best wrestling they can, fighting for the best belts. And in front of him is a table full of several belts that are under cloth, and he reveals with them the 2 new Alliance titles to fight for, as well as the redesigned Alliance Championship that's now vacated because AEW left us. And 1 title still left under the hood. He goes, and then these are our titles, and this one, it's a secret for now. He winks. The crowd is kind of confused by him because he seems to kind of earn back them a little bit. Like, maybe he didn't perform a screw job. Maybe he didn't side with Pillman and screw things over. Maybe it was just an accident. Maybe he just was trying to do what's best for business. Maybe that's the case. He does fine in here. It's 45, and we introduce our new Alliance titles. We have a exhibition match between the Absolute Ricky Starks and Jason Cade. Ricky Starks defeats Cade in 5 minutes by pinfall with a Buster Keaton. Unfortunately, these matches have to be shorter because of the 1 hour. One of the reasons why I might move up to an hour and a half. Ricky Starks had an in-ring performance of 50, doing fantastic. We upped him a little bit, just tweaking a little bit to where he should be. The mod had him a little underperformed. Most of it was in the entertainment side, but we modified it a little bit, and definitely getting a result that I think is more apropos for him. Jason Cade had a 25, which is about where we would expect him from a developmental character or from a enhancement talent, and it gets us a 41. It's not bad. After the win, we go to the garage where the members of the other members of the kingdom are awaiting basically Eddie and Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks obviously just having gotten out in a match. Matt Cross is in mid-conversation with Ray. We don't know quite what the conversation is, but Matt Cross clearly is pissed off about something. And they kind of stop their conversation really quickly as Eddie comes in. Ricky Stark's behind him with a towel, sweating, just kind of cleaning up after the match. Eddie seems frustrated but happy, and he goes right up to Matt Cross and grabs him aggressively at the nape of his neck and pulls him in to face him until they touch foreheads. And then he smiles. It looked like for a second he was going to like attack him, but actually he just kind of brought him in. And he says, "Brother, I know how you feel right now. I know that I'm mad as hell right now. But brother, you did good. I am shocked. 2 members of the kingdom in the finals of that tournament. Ricky just got you one better, but it's fine. We are family. And families fight, and they make each other better. That's what the kingdom's about. I'm proud of you." Kingston kind of bringing in a little bit of a babyface attitude to that there. You know, you would have thought that he would have come in there and admonished him or something, or maybe take out his frustrations. But it seems like, you know, he cares about these guys in some capacity. And that's kind of like, is he a tweener? Is he a babyface? Is he a heel? Is he neither? We're kind of playing with that environment there. Cross forces a smile to him. Obviously, he's a little upset about the situation. Starks is behind Eddie and holding back a grin. And Eddie continues, "But you know, I'm still mad. Because some things change and others don't. I should be bringing back the 10 pounds for you boys right now." And once again, we can see it doesn't matter who's holding the mic, whose face is on the screen. The rules are always the same. That's fine. We always knew that everything was stacked against us. We always knew that we can't win by playing by their rules. So I'm bringing in some reinforcements. We're growing the kingdom, and we're going to show them who really runs the NWA. They smile, they nod, they leave. Ricky and Matt are the last out, who snap and share a glare at each other. So there's some problems in the kingdom a bit that Eddie might not be realizing. And that starts the Oceans Rise and Empires Fall storyline. Matt Cross did a masterful job improvising interactions with the crowd, though, is not there. Ricky Starks did not do well follow script. Again, I forgot to unscript them. I keep on forgetting that. 42 for a segment, and we have some bubbling attention here between Matt Cross and Ricky Starks as Ricky Starks rises and Matt Cross falls. And will this situation start to eat away at the kingdom, or will they resolve it? And that is definitely going to be the question. Speaking of dissolvement, we move to the Colt's locker room. Colt Cabana sits with the Ascension. Obviously, they're bummed out about what's happening, and they definitely show it. But he begins to question and ask things he really shouldn't. And he goes, I know Josephus believed in him, but Victor scowls at him and goes, don't say it. And Colt kind of pushes back a little bit. He's like, I know. I'm just saying. But like with Flip, was that right? I mean, and Victor kind of scowls at him again and goes, we have a purpose. Metal tests metal, Colt. We have to be the best. Follow the guidance. But he lost. And before he could really complete his sentence, Pentagon comes barreling into the room, angry, fiery. His eyes immediately darting upon Colt. He's the odd man out in this situation, and it's clear. And he's taking his wrath out on him. He didn't hear what he said, but he can sense the frustration. Or there's a sense of frustration, I should say. Colt gulps heavy and slinks backwards. We are united in this path. Pentagon says with a thick accent in English for the other ones. There will be no fear, no mercy. Apostates must die. Follow or lay with them. There is only one way forward. And he walks away. Connor and Victor get up and follow. And Colt sits there reluctantly, thinking, before getting up and following behind them. Victor, unfortunately, was underwhelming on the mic, but Colt Cabana was good. And Pentagon Dark came across well, got the crowd hotter. We got a 46, and we're definitely seeing the cracks in the cult forming. It seems like Colt Cabana is maybe the first to starting to see things crumbling down around them, and starting to maybe make sense of what Nick is saying. After that, we got our new tag team from Smokin' Aces, Sleaze and Breeze versus War Machine. Sleaze and Breeze defeat War Machine in 10 minutes. Matthias Breeze pins Hansen with an implant DDT. Breeze had a 42. Zicky Dice had a 43. Rowe had a 41. Hansen had a 41. Hansen's gimmick is getting stale. Good news, because he's probably going to be gone soon. And Breeze is getting better at his gimmick. It's a 46. We get Smokin' Aces get a win here with their new tag team and looking pretty good out there. And in our main event, we got Pillman Jr. and Pentagon Dark in an exhibition match against Eddie Kingston and Nick Aldis. Clearly doing that New Japan style of teaming up, putting together the ragtag team of people involved in other stories. It had great heat. It had good wrestling. This is a fantastic match, actually. Pillman Jr. and Pentagon Dark defeat Kingston and Nick Aldis in 12 minutes. Pillman Jr. pinned Nick Aldis while using the ropes for leverage. Definitely cheating a little bit more. Pentagon Dark had a 62. Pillman had a 51. Aldis had a 53. And Kingston had a 60. Wow, Kingston's moving up in there. The cult fracturing storyline advances and gains heat, as well as the Kingdom, Kingston versus Pillman continues and gains heat. And yeah, man, Pillman was off his game, and Eddie Kingston's gimmick is getting a little stale. We might have to change him up and tweak it a little bit. Got the crowd buzzing. Good match. Pillman obviously cheating like a monster here. And afterwards, Pillman, after having cheated and getting Nick Aldis pinned, Kingston ends up going after him and brawling to the back. The two fight all the way to the back to end the show. Clearly, the heat is not gone between the two of them. We advance our segment with this. Gets a 56. And we have a dark match, just as a test here, to see if they will be up, if they feel like they'll still be on the show. I'm pretty sure if they're in a post-match, they will still feel like they are booked on the show and be happy. I don't know. We'll find out. But post-show, we had good wrestling, decent reaction from the crowd. Eli Drake defeats Miro and Warhorse. Obviously, Warhorse is there to take the pin. We got 60, 64, and a 36. This is with a 43. And the show ends with a 55. Not bad. Good rating overall. Definitely that 61 is fantastic. We're seeing a lot of green here, which is nice. And really the only weak links in the situation were our women's division, which is not horrible. You know, it's not too bad. If we spend more time to develop it, I think we can start getting everything in the green. All we need to get them boosted up to the 40s and we'll be A-okay. Pretty good show. All right. Well, I think that was pretty good. Decent ratings, 0.04, which is not bad for us at all. Let me take a look. I just am curious. I think I think he's fine. Happy being fired, irritating booking. So yeah, because if they're left off the show, they get upset if they feel like they're important enough. So I think if they're in a pre-show or a post-match, that's not the case. So that's good to know. And obviously financially, that kind of hurts us a little bit, but not too bad. It's still probably cheaper than running an entire show for 2 hours, right? For one extra match is probably not the end of the world. We're still financially looking not great, though some of this money came from a title belt that we purchased, so we'll have to see where we're going to be and where that's going to line up for us here. So we are done for the show, but like I said, keep a lookout. There should be a link in the description right after the synopsis that will have the database for you guys to play in, because we are about to jump into the first week of January. So keep a lookout for that. Anyways, that is it for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.